Hey expats and travelers, I'm Kalie with Expats Everywhere, and in this video I run you through 4 immigration scenarios. I speak with Diogo, an immigration lawyer, who talks about some potentially stressful things when it comes to immigration and what can be done. Let's go. Number 1 is Steve. He gets his visa approved, but he doesn't get his IMA appointment assigned to him. The IMA appointment is the in-person appointment that you have in Portugal. So what does he do without that appointment? How can he get that appointment? And then also, Steve gets that appointment, and when he goes, he's told at the office that he has to reschedule. Why is this happening? Let's ask Diogo.
So the reason behind this is because normally the consulate has the power to book an appointment with the IMA directly when people have submitted their visa application and they were granted a visa. It's very common that the consulate books the appointment for the applicant. However, nowadays there are so few slots available for appointments throughout this year that sometimes the visa is granted without any appointment booked whatsoever.
Okay. Would you say it's more common that it's happening, or you should probably get an appointment?
You should probably get an appointment. However, from time to time, we do see some cases where people don't get any appointments on their visas, and when they reach Portugal, then they need to book by themselves.
Okay, how does someone do that?
They can do it using 2 different ways. Or they make the application through the website form in IMA's website, or they book by the phone. So they need to call directly the agency, IMA, and try to book the appointment by themselves.
Okay, now when you call, is IMA actually picking up the phone, or?
Sometimes it's very difficult to reach them out. There are so many people trying to book their appointments by the phone that some days it's completely impossible to talk with someone.
Okay, and if you do the form online, how do you know that it went through, that it was received?
It's difficult, but normally there's a receipt on the contact that is made through the website form. However, it's necessary for people to call IMA and try to see if the appointment was really, if they already got the information. But it's very likely that they did, okay? So there's no need for people trying to constantly calling IMA on this regard and trying to make the form as they did and just wait for their appointment, because they will receive an email regarding that.
Okay. Is it possible to go to the office and try to get an appointment, or that's not recommended?
That's not recommended, nor it will work. So all the appointments need to go through those ways that I've just talked about.
Okay, so now Steve gets an appointment. He goes to the appointment, so he actually has the paper with the day, the time, and the location. But when he gets there, we're hearing that sometimes they're saying no more appointments for today, even though you have one, and they're rescheduling. Is that happening?
It happens, yes. It's not very common. Actually, you can get any appointments in any place in Portugal, but from the appointments in Lisbon and Porto from time to time, this might happen because they are so big, and the cities are so big that there are lots of people going, and then when it's noon, they normally go and see if they can make all the appointments until the end of the day, and if they don't, they really try to reschedule it for another date. And so they ask people that went there to just go home and wait for an email, and they will send another date and they will reschedule it by email.
Okay, so hopefully if someone has an appointment in the morning, they'll have it, but this could happen to you if it's an afternoon appointment,
Correct,
most likely.
correct.
And they're allowed to do this?
They are, actually. There's no grounds to make any discussion there. Actually, they don't have enough people to handle all the appointments. We need to understand that so many people trying to have their appointments and make their immigration process done, that is completely impossible for the attendees or for the people there to just cover all the appointments on the same day.
Okay, so what's your advice for someone who either doesn't get their appointment when they get their visa approved or has an appointment, goes, and then they say that it needs to be rescheduled?
When they don't get the appointment, what I advise is for them, when they come to Portugal, they should ask some help if they cannot do that by themselves, or try to book by the form or by the phone, like I was saying. When they just go to the IMA's appointment and they don't get any way to have their appointments and their biometric data collection, they should go to their home and be aware of the email, so they can, when they receive the email with the rescheduling date, they should go there and attend the second date.
Now, they shouldn't worry though, right? Like they're not living in the country illegally or anything because of this.
No, the visa should have a validity of 4 months, more or less. So if they keep their lives here, and even if the visa has expired after they reach out to Portugal, if they don't leave Portugal and they stay here while they're waiting for the appointment, they shouldn't worry about their immigration status.
Number 2 is Diane. She had her IMA appointment, but she hasn't received her residency card yet. How long should she wait? What should she do? What can be done while she's waiting? Diogo, what does Diane do?
She should ask IMA, and probably the best way is to go to the IMA's delegation where the appointment occurred, and go there in person, trying to understand what happened with their residence card. They might have their residence card there actually to collect, because from time to time there's problems with the mail post, and then it's very likely that the card was sent back to IMA. But if they don't have any news about her application, what Diane should do is actually to make a process, a lawsuit against IMA, because if they don't make the decision within the 90 days, she has the right to ask to the court to obligate IMA to give her the residence card.
And how long is that process taking if she goes to the court?
So it's very likely that it will take more or less 6 to 8 months to be completed. It's considered to be an urgent process, so even in holiday season it still runs, but it's taking more or less 6 to 8 months to be completed.
And should Diane stay in Portugal until she receives her card, or can she travel a little bit?
So as soon as she has the appointment, she will receive a receipt proving that she went to the biometric data collection, and with that document she can stay in Portugal legally without any problems. Actually, it will substitute the residence card while she's waiting for the residence card to come to her address. However, this is not a travel document, so if her visa is already expired, she cannot travel outside Portugal while she is waiting for a residence card, because she can jeopardize the opportunity to come back to Portugal if the residence card is not issued. And so it's better if she waits until the residence card comes to her address to travel outside.
Okay, let's say she has to go to work or something. If she goes in and out of Portugal, is that a safer option or still not recommended?
According to the law, she shouldn't do that. However, if she's doing direct flights from Portugal to a third country, like some country that is not in the Schengen area or the European Union, then it's very likely that she will be able to return. And why is that? Because in Portugal as soon as she arrives to the airport and she shows the receipt of her appearance on the IMA's delegation or at the time of the appointment. They will understand that Diane is only waiting for a residence card to come to the address, and so she is in a regular situation in Portugal. She is not illegal here.
The next scenario is Bill has been here for 2 years and it's time to renew. He sees that expiration on his residency card, so how does he renew? Where does he go to renew? What does he need to renew?
So nowadays, it's depending on the type of residence card that Bill has, he can have an automatic renewal that is done through a website from IMA, and he actually don't need to provide any documentation whatsoever. He just needs to pay the governmental fee, and he will be receiving the residence card in his address. Unless he wants to change something on his residence card, that process will be very fast. But there's also, depending on the residence card that he has, some situations where the automatic renewal is not possible, and in those cases he actually needs to book an appointment, calling IMA to get it.
Of course.
Yes. And after that, he will be providing the documents on the counter, showing that his situation in Portugal still remains and everything is in accordance with the law, and later on he will receive the residence card in his address.
Okay, how early can you renew when your expiration date is coming up? So Bill's expiration is a month from now. Can he check online renewal, or is it too far out? What's the time frame?
No, I would suggest him to do that, actually. According to the law, you can start your renewal process within 3 months. So 3 months before the expiration date on your residence card, you can start. However, when we are talking about the automatic renewal, the time frame for doing that will depend on the availability of the website. It's very likely that if he tries to do that 3 months before, it's not even possible to do that, but just because the website is not prepared yet for doing so. But if it's 1 month, it's very likely that he will get it.
Okay, so keep trying within 1 month.
Yes.
What are some common visas that are allowing the online renewal right now?
Actually, almost all of them, besides students and golden visas. So for those, it's not possible.
Okay, and what if someone tries within a couple weeks of their expiration to do the renewal and it's just not working online? What should Bill do if that happens?
He should contact IMA actually when that happens, and normally what they ask people to do is to call IMA and try to solve their renewal through the phone.
Okay, and is there anything that Bill should be doing in those first 2 years to have a successful renewal?
What is important for Bill to have in mind is that at the time of the renewal, he should keep his legal status in Portugal. So he should have the power to show that he's still working, studying. He had, for instance, created his own company in Portugal. He should show that his legal status remains the same, and he has enough money to support himself while in Portugal. So at the time of the renewal, it's necessary to provide enough documentation to show that everything keeps the same and he didn't change anything throughout these 2 years.
Okay, what if Bill was working when he came here and then he decided to retire in those 2 years? Is that okay? He just has to show proof of that he has money, or because that's a bit of a change, is that okay for Bill?
Yes, it should be okay for him. He's not obliged to keep working for his entire life, of course. But when that happens, actually, it's good to have the enough documentation to show that he's actually retired and how much money is getting from his retirement, to show also that he has enough money to support himself while he's living in Portugal.
In this last scenario, Beth is really excited because she's been in Portugal for 5 years, so now she has options. What are her options? Permanent residency, citizenship, what does she do, and what's the time frame? Let's ask Diogo.
So as soon as she reached the fifth year in Portugal, she can choose between getting the permanent residence card, which will be valid for 5 years and it's renewable every 5 years, or applying for the Portuguese citizenship, which will grant her the right to have a Portuguese passport, which is valid for her life, actually, and so she don't need to comply with any minimum periods of stay in Portugal.
Okay, so for the permanent residency, there are still the minimum stay requirements.
That's right.
But
yes.
Citizenship, it's open, and essentially someone could move to a different part of the Schengen.
Yes, that's correct. As soon as she gets the permanent residence card, she will need to comply with the minimum periods of stay within the 5 years, which means that she cannot stay outside Portugal for more than 24 months consecutively, so consecutive months, or for more than 30 months, intercalated months. So if she does that, she is able to keep renewing the residence card every 5 years.
Okay, and Beth gets the citizenship, but she doesn't have to give up her home country citizenship?
In Portugal, that is not something that will happen. So she can handle any nationality and she can have several passports with no problem whatsoever. However, I would suggest Beth to see if in her country that is allowed. Dual citizenship is not allowed in some countries, so if she's doing that, she will need to renounce her previous citizenship in order to get Portugal.
Okay, and what's the difference as far as paperwork or appointments for the permanent residency? What do you have to prove? And for citizenship, what do you have to prove?
For both, you will need to show a basic level of Portuguese language. So you will need to have a certificate or attend a Portuguese language test to show that you have an A2 level language knowledge. And so by doing this, you can apply whether for the permanent residence card or for the Portuguese citizenship. The entities that deal with these two applications are different. Permanent residence card, it's handled by IMA. And for the Portuguese citizenship, Beth needs to go to the civil registry office, which will grant her the passport after more or less 1 year after the application is submitted.
Okay, and if someone doesn't want to do either permanent residency or citizenship, is there another option? Or they have to do one of the two after 5 years?
If they don't comply with the basic level of Portuguese, so it's possible to keep the temporary stay card. However, it's not very common, and it's very likely that if people actually comply with the Portuguese language test, that IMA will just allow them to renew and get the permanent residence card instead of renewing the temporary residence card.
We've heard that it could take longer than a year to get your citizenship. Is that something that's happening right now?
Yes, it is. There is a backlog on the citizenship applications due to several reasons, but the most important one is the fact that there are so many people trying to access the Portuguese citizenship that it's becoming very difficult to handle so many applications throughout the year. So it's very likely that it will take more or less 18 months to be completed, the entire process.
Are there different tax implications for a permanent resident versus a citizen?
It might be, depending on where the person is living at that point. So if the person is using the permanent residence card, it's very likely that he's living in Portugal for the entire time. So the taxes that will be applicable will be in accordance with the Portuguese rules. But if that person is only a Portuguese national, having the right to hold a passport, he or she can choose between living in Portugal or going to another country. And depending on the location, the rules, the tax rules from Portugal can or cannot be applicable depending on the tax treaties between the countries.
I speak with Diogo a lot more on our podcast about the recent and very important immigration changes that have happened this year. So click on this video to go there. And if you want to get in touch with Diogo, then email me at info@expatseverywhere.com. Now let's get moving.